All right, hello everybody. I'm Robert Humphrey, the Chief Marketing Officer at SonicWall, and with us today is Michael Crean. Michael is Senior Vice President and leads our Managed Security Services unit. Corey runs our Global Security Operations Centers. We wanted to put this video out related to the cloud backup security incident that you've all been notified, you've all been remediating, customers and partners alike. Just want to give you an update on that because by now you should be engaged in that. So, Michael, if I could, just for those that maybe for the first time, that would be a surprise, but give a quick update on kind of what's happened. It got bigger. How did it get bigger? What's the story behind all that? To kind of talk to those, that'd be great.
Sure. So for those of you that maybe are hearing this for the first time, around the first week of September, we started to see some anomalistic behavior and noticed that it looked like our cloud-based storage was getting excessive API calls. We kind of took some quick investigative action, shut down the cloud-based storage, determined that, yes, in fact, we had unauthorized access and they were taking some of the backup files. We immediately brought Mandiant in to perform an investigation to validate our concerns. They did and said, yes, we were accurate in our concerns. Immediately went into a full incident response cycle with them. And then last week, they finished phase 1 of that incident response cycle with all of the serial numbers that we and they felt were affected and made that final statement of serial numbers as to here are all of the units that we believe that those backups have been compromised.
What are we asking people to do, or what are we recommending strongly that people do?
Well, I think first we have to understand that there's 2 different categories of notifications that we're making. There's a high and a low. In the low category, what we've been able to determine is that the units have no forward-facing or authenticating user services. So something like an SSL VPN, IPsec, GVC, site-to-site VPN. So we didn't see any of those in the configurations, and therefore we've been able to, I don't want to say forget them, not do them, because it is still incredibly important, but we deprioritize them because they have the least amount of risk. We want you to focus on the ones that have the high risk, hence the reason that we call them high and low.
Yeah, and we call it lower, Michael. So we use the term lower
sorry.
because we want to indicate that it's not just low, it's lower than the high, because it's just as important that you take some type of mitigation steps on those devices. But when it comes to the high priorities, it's the opposite, right? Where we're seeing internet-facing services that can be actively exploited with that information that's contained in that backup file. So these are things like when HTTPS is enabled on the WAN management ports, SSL VPNs enabled, active IPsec, or the rarity, but L2TP connections as well. There's a third classification that they might see on there called inactive. Inactive means that it hasn't checked in the last 90 days. Doesn't mean that they should be completely ignored, because we have found incidents where maybe security services or licensing wasn't renewed and those devices are on, but they haven't been checking in the last 90 days.
I guess that there's one question I know that people are asking a lot, that when early in the month when we notified, it was less than 5% of customers affected, and then it increased. How did that happen? What happened between then and now can you talk us through that a little bit?
Sure. So kind of like almost any incident investigation, there's always a chance that scope will expand when you bring somebody like a Mandiant in. They have expertise, they have tools, they have processes. This is what they do for a living. And you hope that you're hiring the best so that you can get true clarity on the scope of the situation. And that's what we got out of this. They were able to, again, I think I said this earlier, take all of our findings and validate, yes, what we saw was correct. But then they started over and they rebuilt the whole scenario as if we had nothing to offer them so that they could come up with a clean set of fresh findings. And when they came back with last week, that clean set of fresh findings, that scope expanded. And some of it is out of an abundance of caution, but the majority of this is yes, they were able to see more activity than we first thought.
And this is what happens when you bring in a DFIR organization. And Mandiant's been known to be very, very thorough. So some of the feedback we got that we've received, sorry, is that why is this taking so long to get the new numbers? Originally, you told me I had this many. Now it's significantly increased. And again, there's different phases when an organization like this comes in and does a deeper dive, a deeper validation. I always say the needle will consistently move until we're confident that this is the final number.
And that's a good point, Corey, because we are confident that the serial numbers and what we've given to our partners last week and customers, this is the final number.
And yeah, I guess I'll just remind, we did, when we made the initial the initial response, that's when we very quickly after identifying this is what we know, so that's why we got it out to that percentage. We also said we've engaged Mandiant and we'll be releasing updates to that. And then kind of closing off on that, I understand the Mandiant investigation continues. What do we expect from that? What will be the outcome of that?
Like, I think I kind of simply put it as a phase 1, phase 2, and that's probably not their verbiage or their wording, but it's how it makes sense for me, is that phase 1 is taking care of our partners and customers as fast as we can and ensuring that we get the information to them so that containment and remediation steps start. Now moving on to phase 2 is them looking at the entirety of the infrastructure that was compromised and looking at this incident, trying to understand who it was, where were they originating from, what were they doing, maybe even trying to see what was the intent behind this, and then figuring out how do we harden and ensure that this type of malicious behavior never happens again, and look at other aspects of that cloud-based storage and infrastructure, and even shore up things that maybe we didn't know, we weren't thinking about, or just anything else that can continue to reassure our partners and customers that we're doing the right things to become a better organization and learn from this.
We're not waiting for the Mandiant final report to make changes. We have made change. We have things that we are doing or have done already, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we have made changes. We have started hardening certain aspects of the system, and on top of that, we haven't brought the cloud backups back online. And I know that's negatively impacting some of our customers and partners out there because they rely on that. And what we don't want to do is bring it back too fast and too early, and we don't have certainty that your backups are safe. That is our number one priority, is to make sure that when we tell you this feature is good, that we know and we can prove that we've done the due diligence that it's good.
Well, hopefully this has been helpful. I want to thank you guys for kind of getting out in front of this. I know you're active on some of social media and just in general and events and speaking and webinars and stuff that we're hosting on this. You two guys have been really helpful for SonicWall, and I know for our customers and partners. So yeah, that's much appreciated.
I appreciate it. And there's nothing good about this. Michael and I were an MSSP for many, many years, and we've been through this. We've been through these types of compromises with vendors, and we totally understand, one, our partners have to regain trust in us. Our partners' customers have to regain trust in them for continuing to use our product or continuing to use us in general. So we totally understand that, and hopefully we've shown that our response has been straightforward and transparent. And to Michael and I, that's always been key, is making sure that, we're being told all the information, that nothing's being swept under the rug. We've also gained many non-technical understanding and skills off of this compromise as well, especially when it comes to communication and how we're communicating with our partners, how we're getting that information out there.
Yeah. All right. Well, guys, much appreciated. Hopefully customers, partners watching this has been helpful, and have a good week. Thanks.